Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme. I'm going to tell you a little story today about this photograph right here. What you're looking at is a Polaroid photograph of myself, my brother, a couple of my friends, my uncle and my cousin, and we're on the Hollywood sign. So when I was young, in this picture, I'm really young. I'm probably just about 10 or 11 years old. Here, I'll zoom in and show you really quick here. So that's my uncle. And that was my cousin. And so right there, that little head right there, that's me. I was the youngest one here. I was scared. On there. This is on a cliff, this big sign. And then so my brother is over there on the left, and those are our two best friends in the middle. You know, and they're all relaxed and stuff. They're all having a good time. I was the one that was scared because I was the young kid. So, back then, so I would, my dad, I was single. I had my mom, and I had a brother and a couple sisters. But my dad, I was the youngest of the four kids, and my dad was only my dad. And so, my dad, I never remember him living with us and stuff, but he was a weekend dad, and he was always there on the weekends and stuff. So he would take us all kinds of places. We lived in Los Angeles. So on the weekends, you know, we would go see movies a lot, and we would go around all LA. There was all kinds of things to do around Los Angeles. And one of the places that he liked to go was the Griffith Park Observatory, because my dad was really into chemistry. And my dad actually, back in those days, all through the 80s at least, my dad actually worked at Compton College. He worked in the chemistry lab. And he wasn't an actual doctor, he was just a lab assistant, but he had keys to the chemistry lab, and we used to go, when I was a kid, I used to go to Compton College and hang out in the chemistry lab there. It was like a library. The chemistry lab, what it would look like is, imagine a library where you would have rows and rows, but instead of having books, there was chemicals. So this is one of the places I spent a lot of time in as a kid. There was actually it was crazy stuff. I have so many stories of that back then, but one time my dad actually says, "Hey, you guys want to see a dead body?" And what had happened was a homeless person had passed away on the grounds of the college. And I guess they called the police, and then there was no identity or something. There was something like that had occurred that nobody had claimed him. And so since nobody had claimed him, he actually became the rights of the college. And so they had him in a freezer. And so my dad, sure enough, my dad was pretty wild. I was probably young, 10 or 11. My dad, sure enough, took us, and I saw that dead body in the freezer. You know, that's pretty crazy stuff. So, like I said, my dad was into chemistry. He was into stuff like that. So we used to go up to the Griffith Park Observatory. Would have been one of the places he would take us on the weekends. And my friends, as you could see in this, my dad had a VW bus, and he could fit quite a few of us in there. And we would go up to the observatory, and we would go inside the observatory a lot of times, and you walk around the grounds there. But then if you go back up behind the observatory, there was some hiking trails back up there. So we used to go up there all the time, but then one day my dad gets it into his head and says, "Let's hike over to the Hollywood sign." And, you know, I don't know how far it was, but I would assume it's a couple miles from where we were at. We ended up going on this journey over to the Hollywood sign. So we get over there, and it's not like it is now, I'm sure. Back then it was like an abandoned back there. There was nobody really around. There was a fence, but there was big holes in it, and you could go down there, and there's graffiti on the sign and beer cans all around and stuff. You could tell people would be partying around there. So we went down, and this O here, this would be the last O in the Hollywood. So the last O in the wood, that's the O that we were on here. And it's a cliff right there. And I was young, and I was scared, and so they all pile up onto the sign. They're all woo woo, they jump all out. I'm like down there, I start crying because I was scared to go up there. It was scary. And then my uncle comes down and helps me get up there, and then that's why you actually see me hanging on just peeking out my head, because I was actually scared and I had been crying before. So my dad, he used to carry a Polaroid camera with him a lot of times. You know, he was into photography as a hobby, and so he climbs down the cliff or whatever, and he gets this photograph. And this is one of those things that to have this photograph, it's not like the modern days where everybody has cameras all the time and you get all these photographs. So that we were able to go over there and that we actually got a photograph of the event. This is one of these little things that I really like, this photograph, and when I see it, it's really cool, and it tells a lot of stories. It brings back a lot of memories for me. And you know, so then we're hiking back now. And so remember, this is early 80s, and back then bottled water wasn't something that was randomly sold in the stores and stuff. It wasn't common that you would just have a bottle of water. It wasn't just common. It wasn't like that. So we're going back, and now it's hot, and I'm getting thirsty, and it comes to the point where I'm starting to get so thirsty I start crying again. And, you know, so, and then I remember my dad remarked, "Oh boy, that was pretty stupid of me to not bring any water with us over here." You know, so it's just one of those things I remember was really funny. And then as it goes back, as time goes on and you live your life, doing things like this with my dad, and he was reckless, and we would do all kinds of things. And as I said, my dad worked at Compton College, and he was into chemistry. And as you grow older, what you find out is that also your parents usually probably have drug problems and stuff. And of course, my dad being there, he had a cocaine problem and stuff. And so my dad had a lot of energy when I was young. He was always bopping around, and he would be hopping around and taking us around, and he'd keep up with us kids and stuff. But as I get older, what I realize is that he was having a good old time. He would be high on cocaine all those weekends that he was coming to pick us up, and he'd be taking us all around and having a good old time. And that's actually what was going on. Yeah, so that's my childhood. This is a part of it. This is us on the Hollywood sign. So I thought I'd share that story with you. Okay, bye-bye.